Right about now, you are listening to the Legacy and Leadership Podcast, a show where we discuss living as a leader worth following, leading others to do the same, and in doing so, leaving a legacy for future generations. My name is Jimmie Gonzalez Jr., a learning and development professional and leadership coach, sitting down with my co-host Anthony Devon Watts Jr., an expert contact center leader that has effectively led and developed dynamic teams with high motivation. Together, we have over 30 years experience in the corporate game. Join us as we discuss our growth as leaders, share the lessons we've learned, and interview others to see how their leadership style was shaped as they were mentored by adversity. Story goes, there were two lumberjacks, and they're starting off, at the beginning of their day, and they're ready to work, ready to get their axes and do what they need to do to start chopping down some trees. So both of them are going at it, and they're both pretty, competitive individuals, and they're doing their thing. They go all day, and they're working, and um, again, just chopping down trees, and one is counting how many trees he's actually cut down for the day, and other ones doing the same, and they're kind of watching each other and stuff like that. But, they're both focused on themselves and what they got to do in their job. So they go all day, and at the end of the day, they get back together, and they start comparing, kind of production for the day. And one was like, yeah, I feel pretty good about what I was able to do today. I cut down 5 trees. And the other one was like, okay, that's pretty good. I was actually really proud of myself today. I was able to cut down 10 trees. And the other guy was like, man, 10 trees. Like, I thought, the way that we were both going and kind of the pace that we were both going, I really didn't think that you would have, kind of doubled, my production. And they started talking about, kind of their efforts throughout the day. And, one of them was saying that, as I was going, like, I realized that as I'm chopping down these trees and I'm hustling and I'm working, I'm doing what I need to do. Like, I'm chopping down trees, and my saw was getting a little dull, but like I knew, and I kind of saw you off in the distance, and I just knew that I had to keep going and just keep swinging that axe and chopping down those trees. So that was an individual that got the 5, right, for the day. And the other guy said, yeah, I feel you. I see where you're coming from. Same thing happened to me, kind of midway through the day. But I realized as my saw started to get dull, I stopped, and I took a minute to actually sharpen my saw. And when I did that and took that break in the middle of the day to sharpen my saw, it allowed me to be even that much more productive on the second half of the day. And honestly, I think, that was really the difference in me getting my 10 and you getting your 5, for the day. And the whole premise of sharpening your saw, again, in that story was just on my mind, since our conversation last week. And you mentioned it a couple of times in the conversation, but for our legacy leaders, some of the folks out there maybe have never heard that concept of sharpening the saw. So, again, it made me think about that story. I wanted to share that with our listeners. I thought it would be a good idea for us to maybe to even unpack that a little bit more today, and get into really, as a leader, like why it's so important for you to sharpen your saw.
No, man, I think that's honestly, I think it's a perfect place to start. Like when we start doing our deep dives, to really start with that. You're right. I didn't even think about it. I did bring it up a couple of times, maybe because that story's always resonated with me. Just the importance of making sure that you're able to deliver at the highest capacity that you can deliver at, and realizing that you have to make sure that your tool, your most important tool, which is you, right, which is you, your mental well-being, the whole nine, is always at its sharpest so that you can produce the highest output, because there is no shortage, and I know the rest of the leaders can relate to this, there's no shortage of a forest of things that you have to chop down and tackle as a leader on any given moment. And it definitely just seems like, it's never ending. And if you never take the time to actually make sure that you are sharp, your saw is sharp, eventually, you're gonna wear down. You're gonna be too dull to be productive at all. So, I like that quite a bit, man. We can start there and just really unpack that.
Yeah. So for me, really, this was a concept that I was introduced to. Man, when I think about it, just a blessing. This was like really early on in my career with Sears, and just really happy about overall. This is just kind of a sidebar, but just happy with the development that I've been able to receive over the years, and it kind of started with there. We went to a training for Franklin Covey, and it was Franklin Covey achieving your highest results, and that's when I was introduced to my planner, which I've been having since then. I've had different ones along the way, but that system has been something that I've stuck with the whole time. But within that system, because it's not just a planner, they really teach you about mission statement, your values and goals that you set for yourself. But the premise too is making sure that you sharpen your saw. And focusing on four different aspects, right? So the mental, the physical, the emotional, and the spiritual part of yourself. And like you said, it's so important for a leader, because as leaders, we are teachers, we are influencers, whether we have a team or not. Again, because it's not about the position you have, but just being a leader in your own space. Regardless of how many people there are, like, you're always pouring yourself out into other people. If you really have those true marks of a leader, and humility and selflessness, and you're truly trying to be a servant. Again, you're working for other people, you're doing things for other people, you're looking to serve other people, and you're pouring yourself out. So that can get draining, at the end of the day, at the end of the week. And then if you have a family, obviously you're trying to do everything you can to give to your family and those that are around you, and your loved ones. So whether it's at work or even in your personal life, it's just making sure that you're taking care of yourself, so that you have enough for you and you have enough energy to continue to pour into other people.
Rage on that beat, going crazy.
You have just listened to the Legacy and Leadership Podcast, hosted by Jimmie Gonzalez and Devon Watts. Thank you, and we hope that you live, lead, and leave a legacy worth remembering. Until next time.